Hello, this is Tony Clarkson and Michael Reccia, and we're in the Joseph Communication Book Club series. And this is where we take chapters from Trance Mission. And Trance Mission was a compendium of live speaking sessions that Joseph had through Michael. And I'm happy to say today we've got a question here, or I should be ashamed to say it was my wife asking the question. So, Sheila, Joseph, about children who were born ill, who die early, and you spoke about coming homeward. And I wondered about the going homeward in this very primary state, and what does that mean? And now Joseph gave Sheila an answer. You must remember that none of you is who you appear to be. You look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am young, I am middle-aged, I am old, I'm a child. This is how I see myself. But you are wearing a suit of clothes. You are an angel. You are an angelic being. You have been coming here for some time, and you come here repeatedly with different sets of clothes in order to experience. And the amount of time you are here is dependent on the amount of challenges you can face versus the effects of the field in being detrimental to your body. Sometimes souls from a high level decide that they need to visit the earth for a short time. Sometimes this is because they need to observe something from physicality again for perhaps only a few moments. Sometimes it is because they have something to teach those whose lives are touched by their short life on earth. Believe me, when you attain a level where you retain enough soul memory to know that you do not need to be here any longer than you have to be, then once you have set yourselves a challenge that you have been agreed by your advisors and the challenge has been met, you go. You do not want to stay here. So remember, the child that may appear have gone young, the child that came with a disease, is not who they appear to be. They are far older, and when they return to the spirit world, they regain their soul memories. If they have been polluted by the field for a number of years, because that does happen, then they are gently eased back into their soul memories and are initially brought up as a child, but then more rapidly, much, much more rapidly than you would see on earth. And they regain their soul memories. They regain their spiritual stature, and they move away from that suit of clothes that at that point must be discarded. There is always purpose to the life of every soul, and that purpose may seem like suffering from an earthly point of view, but in reality, it is not. It is either to gain further personal individual experience or bring that experience to the lives that life touches.
Yeah, things are not what they seem, are they, Tony?
They're not.
They're not what they seem. And we have to look at each life from the point of view of the spiritual rather than the material, rather than the physical. And perhaps I can illustrate this point that Joseph's making a little more from personal experience, from readings that I used to take when I did readings as a medium many years ago. And on occasion, someone would come to me and I would be shown in connection with them as I was sitting with them, a child or a baby. And I would describe the child or the baby in great detail because that would be presented to me, that great detail. And they would say, that's the daughter I lost, or that's the son that I lost. But at the point that they recognized who was coming through, that lost child, the child would transform in my eyes into this great shining spirit, would grow up instantly into this great shining spirit, and often would say, describe how I am now to my mother, to my father, and tell them that I am this being of light now with these colors in my aura because of the challenge that I met whilst I was on earth.
Wow.
That in going through that challenge, it enabled me to add to the sum of my experiences as the spirit that I really am. And this is how I appear today. And don't worry, Mum, don't worry, Dad, I will appear to you as you remember me. But then I will also appear to you as the spirit that I really am, as Joseph says, the angelic being that I
Yeah.
really am.
Yeah.
And of course, it seems terrible from an earthly point of view that people are taken young, as we say. They were taken so young. But from a spiritual point of view, they were returned home at an early stage and perhaps didn't have to go through the several decades of challenges and stress and pain and worry and loss that the rest of us have to go through before we return home. So if you turn the thinking on its head from a spiritual point of view, it is a blessed release.
There was also an issue mentioned that it may be that the parents get learning from it as well.
Yes, it
Hard
sounds
as
it sounds harsh, doesn't it? But we interact with all the people in our lives. We contribute to their lives in some way. They contribute to our lives in some way, spiritually speaking.
Yeah.
And sometimes there is a lesson. It's not that it's a lesson you're going to be taught something. It's a lesson that is deemed necessary by the spirit who appears to be suffering, but also by the parents on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
They have agreed that they need to learn something. They need to add to their experience. Maybe it's so that they can comfort others.
Yeah.
Maybe it's so that they can get a deeper insight into life and death here. We don't know.
Would there be a prior agreement from parent and child?
That's a difficult one. Usually you would find that the child and the parents are connected as part of a soul group anyway.
Right.
And there is always advice before someone reincarnates. And as we know from the Joseph books, usually the advice is don't reincarnate.
No.
But if you do decide that you want to come back here for another trip on the merry-go-round, then advisors will sit with you and say, well, there are certain points that you'll hit during that life. And if you hit them correctly, you will advance in this way or advance in that way.
Wow.
So nothing's ever wasted and nothing's by chance and nothing is the visitation upon people by an uncaring God of something that makes them suffer.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about.
No.
It's not about suffering. It's not about somebody being taken away as a vengeance by an unloving God. It's because something is being learned and something has to move on in that way.
Yeah.
And as we've spoken about, no one is lost anyway. And those children are not lost. And those children are spirits. And those children will be reunited with their parents when their parents pass over as well.
Absolutely.
So it's a loving world outside of this vibration, but from within it, it's a challenge.
It is.
It's a difficult world, and we know why. There's a greater theme here, isn't there, about the fall and about the field of human consciousness, which again we can discuss in
when we get onto
when
the
we
other
get
book.
to that point. Yes.
Yeah. Michael, thank you so much for your insights, and I'm sure my wife will listen to this with interest, watch this with interest.
Thank you,
Thank
Tony,
you so
and
much.
thank you, of course, Joseph, for
Thank you,
providing
Joseph,
the information in the first place.
So I do hope that you've enjoyed this, and we look forward to making the next one from me and from Michael. Goodbye and God bless.
Goodbye. God bless.